Hello children! Today we're out here in this place with leaf litter on the ground with this. This is an ultra scientific equipment known as a lid from a container from my kitchen. And today we're out here looking for one of the weirdest ants that you could probably find in your backyard. Strumigenys ants, also known as pygmy snapping ants. And we're actually not alone out here.
I'm here as well. I am Jack, as of Jack's World of Wildlife, and I am also here to find pygmy snapping ants.
Why, what a coincidence that is.
So it really works out, and I also have a lid to look for them.
Yeah, so let's see what all we could find. Alright children, so we got all this leaf litter underneath us and our very scientific equipment right here. And if you want to explain real quick.
Yeah, so basically we're just kind of getting nice handfuls of some of this organic material, and then you can kind of sprinkle it on this plate like you're about to enjoy a nice Thanksgiving dinner, because delish. And then what this reveals to us is the things that would have been invisible to the naked eye. So on this bright white, we can start to see tiny little flecks of movement that are the absolutely infinitesimal insects that we're looking for today. So that's why we've got these little platforms to kind of check the soil and organic material on so that we can actually see the stuff we're looking for.
Yeah, and hopefully we could find ourselves some Strumigenys ants. That would be great. Once you have the sample of litter here, you just gotta very carefully sift through it, keeping an eye out for movement. So right there, we just got ourselves a louisianae. Those are very annoying invasives. Oh, this is cool. This right here is a little whip scorpion. That is, I believe it's called Stenacris portuacensis. So they have a very, very short tail. They could get a little bigger than this, but they are quite common in leaf litter, though they are hard to find. So really cool. Alright children, we have finally found our first Strumigenys ant of the day, although not a very impressive one. This right here is Strumigenys eggersi, the Eggers pygmy snapping ant, by far the most common species of Strumigenys here in Florida. It is unfortunately an invasive species that is quickly taking over much of these leaf litter areas. It's still a rare sight and cool to see. Strumigenys eggersi is pretty distinctive within the Florida species in that it has these long, tapering mandibles, as well as being one of very few Strumigenys species to lack any spongy tissue on the abdomen. And how appropriate that right after finding the most common species that I come across, we found the second most common species of Strumigenys that I come across, Strumigenys emmae, or the emma's pygmy snapping ant. Much like many other Strumigenys species, Strumigenys emmae could be easily identified by the shape of the mandibles. Strumigenys emmae has relatively short, very curved-in mandibles that form a semicircle when pressed together. Similar to many other Strumigenys species, Strumigenys emmae has a snapping mechanism that they use to catch soft-bodied animals like springtails. They will walk around with their mandibles held wide open, then, in a blink of an eye, shut the mandibles closed, trapping the springtail in. The mandibles are just about the only part of this ant that can move quickly though, as they are extremely slow-moving ambush predators that rely on their very good camouflage within the leaf litter to blend in and sneak up on fast-moving springtails.
Check this out, folks. This is our lovely Rogers pygmy snapping ant, Strumigenys rogeri. And this is the first one I found today. Mikey's been wiping the floor with me. He's found plenty of Strumigenys, but this one is special because I found it. Oh, she's got herself flipped over. Man, they're pretty clumsy outside of the leaf litter. It really shows just how well adapted they are, snaking through this stuff to look for springtails.
Yeah, they're extremely adapted. They could only be found in these kinds of habitats, and they are very used to climbing around very rough terrain. So I've noticed whenever I put these on like a smooth surface like this, they don't do very well.
Yeah. This right here is another Strumigenys rogeri, Rogers pygmy snapping ant, and I found it this time. You may not be able to see it too well, but Strumigenys rogeri is quite a bit larger than some of the more common species like eggersi and emmae. About twice as large, and in some cases I've noticed them to be about 3 times as large. Still, this is an absolutely tiny ant that also eats little things like springtails. At first glance, this might look very similar to the species Strumigenys eggersi, the very common one. But besides size difference, Strumigenys rogeri has distinct spongy tissue on the abdomen. But more readily visible is a difference in the mandible shape. Like I said earlier, Strumigenys eggersi has tapering mandibles that point inwards towards one another, whereas Strumigenys rogeri has mandibles that point outwards from one another, but that hook inwards towards one another at the tips, making them look like they're constantly held open.
Check out this right here. Beautiful little Anacetus trap jaw. Now it's really cool. At first glance, those mandibles might look remarkably similar to the mandibles of the Strumigenys that we're looking at. And there's partly a reason for that. That's a bit of a convergent trait. These animals are feeding on a lot of the same things. Anacetus species of this size are going to be preying heavily on small, soft-bodied insects, much like springtails, much like the diet of those Strumigenys ants. However, these animals are really not closely related other than being ants, with Anacetus belonging to the tribe Ponerini and Strumigenys belonging to the tribe Atini, making Strumigenys more closely related to leafcutter ants than to these trapjaw ants. Super interesting.
But one of my favorite ants I've ever managed to find right here is this, Strumigenys louisianae, or the Louisiana pygmy snapping ant. Unlike all the other Strumigenys that we've covered so far, Strumigenys louisianae is a native species here in South Florida, and this individual right here seems to be surviving the impact of these invasive species quite well. Like Strumigenys rogeri, Strumigenys louisianae is quite an unusually large species for the genus Strumigenys, and the large size as well as this dark reddish coloration stuck out to me when I first saw it, and I knew it was something different. Strumigenys louisianae has relatively straight mandibles that don't really curve inwards or outwards, and has more of a deeper reddish brown coloration compared to some of the orangish colors on some of these other Strumigenys. The most distinctive trait of this species, though, is the head. The sides of the head are very rounded compared to some of these other Strumigenys, but most importantly, the head is covered in these short, thick, white hairs that line all over the head and make the head look like a little strawberry. This was an amazing lifer.
Thanks everybody for watching my channel today. I hope that you enjoyed learning about these amazing pygmy snapping ants. So remember to subscribe to my channel and to me, Mikey, from Cool Critters YouTube. If you don't subscribe, as far as you know, Mikey could be in a plane other than this one. All because you didn't subscribe when you watched this video. So I'm so sad that what has happened to Mikey, me, happened because of what you at home didn't do. So if you're watching this video now, maybe you can save Mikey, me, from whatever has befallen him. Me. Please subscribe, please watch, please share, please comment. Anything you can do to help this video is something you can do to help Mikey. Sorry.